This is PC747, bringing you the latest in tech and entertainment talk. It is June 22nd, 2018 on the Nexup. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about several things in the world of tech and entertainment news. So let's go ahead and get started with a couple of quick trending topics. Disney, they are really bent on trying to get X-Men and Fantastic Four back into their Marvel property. For those who've been following along, you remember that Disney first approached Fox about buying them, and then Comcast stepped up and matched their offer with a $65 billion offer. Disney, not ready to give up yet, decided to counteroffer that with $71.3 billion. Now this is a push for them because they're really wanting to do like everyone else and challenge Netflix by having their own streaming service. And if Disney can take all of their properties and match that with the properties that Fox owns, this will make for a much better offering for customers and enticing them to want to pay the monthly subscription to sign up. Another company looking to boost and add to their property is AT&T. AT&T purchased Time Warner and making it one of the largest telecommunication companies out there. They already own DirecTV. So to add to that, Time Warner and the fact that they have AT&T wireless customers, this will allow them to put them in a better position to really challenge all of the streaming services out there. Because we already saw what they did with DirecTV, where they have their customers who sign up for DirecTV and are able to consume DirecTV channels and shows without taking a hit on their data. And now that net neutrality has been repealed, there is no regulated company or regulated agency that is going to prevent them from doing that. So now that they have acquired Time Warner, they will be able to offer a streaming service that their customers can enjoy without taking a hit to their data. This puts them in a much better position for competing against Netflix, Disney, and for what they're trying to do over there with Warner Brothers with their DC, which actually going to be interesting to see how they all come together because, again, Warner Brothers own DC, and now that Time Warner is really pretty much them, are they going to pretty much integrate their DC property in with the other streaming service or keep them separate? It would be interesting to see what comes of all that. Now we go into the world of movie and television entertainment. Jurassic World opened up this weekend in theaters, and they are looking to hopefully dominate the box office as they are competing against The Incredibles 2 that had a very solid opening last week. And with all the hype and buzz surrounding this movie, yeah, Jurassic World going to have a challenging task ahead of them. But with a lot of excitement around this movie and people wanting to see more dinosaurs, hey, they may indeed take the #1 spot this weekend. Along with Jurassic World opening, Luke Cage Season 2 dropped on Netflix. And with everything happening this weekend, it being summer, this may be the one show that people may not binge watch the whole season this weekend. There's just way too much stuff to do. You know, you got Jurassic World out there. You got people probably want to go out there and see Incredibles 2. So I won't be surprised to see if this is one of those shows where people watch a couple episodes and actually end up having to go a couple of weeks, even a month before they get through the entire series. But for those interested, you'll be able to check it out this weekend. And lastly, one of my favorite artists, Lecrae, released his album with Beethoven today, and you can check it out now if you are on Google Play Music. I believe it's also on iTunes, and you can check it out, and it's titled Let the Trap Say Amen. Now on to some tech news, my world. And I want to start off with Apple. We got a chance to see a mock-up of the new iPhones that potentially will be coming out this fall. Now, this mock-up has been seen all over blogs and a couple of channels this weekend, or the past couple of days. And have a look at it. It looks like Apple is ready to finally abandon Touch ID, officially. Because unlike last year, where they released the iPhone X and still had the iPhone with the ability to have Touch ID, this year, this phone will not have any Touch ID whatsoever. They are fully committed with Face ID, as these new iPhones will pretty much be the iPhone X improved. I say that because you would have to think that for Apple to fully abandon a fingerprint sensor, that they had the opportunity to listen to all the complaints that people had and took the time to deal with all the bugs and issues and improve it, so that this year, when people adopt this phone, they will see that Face ID has improved vastly. And with the fact that Face ID is going to be the way that people are able to validate their purchases online, validate their Apple Pay, as well as everything else, like getting into the phone, it's going to have to be better. And I think it will be. Look, I actually like to look at the iPhone X, and I'm glad that Apple's adopting it. I know I've been critical of Android manufacturers for copying their style, but that's because of that. I don't want everybody trying to look the same. No, Apple was not first to the notch design, as I said many times before. But the design that they're rocking, they were one of the first to do it. And they did it real well. So for them, I'm glad they're keeping the design. It fits them. It looks like Apple when I see it. But when I see other manufacturers like LG and Lenovo and some of these other companies adopt it, it just feels like they're just ripping off Apple. I know I've heard people out there from the community say, just get over the notch design. And for the most part, I am over it. I'm just saying that for Apple, it fits them. I like the look of it. I like the fact that they're going pretty much all display. You got rid of the fingerprints scanner. You gave people more screen and a smaller real estate of a phone, considering. I think as Apple fans, you're getting one of the best iPhones to date coming this fall. For those of you who may not be down with losing Touch ID, you still have the previous version of the iPhone, but I say, give it a shot. I think you enjoy it. And with it, you're gonna get your animojis, memojis, as well as the ability to play with what Apple has been doing with ARKit. So look for that this fall when you go out to buy the latest iPhone. As we continue to talk about the bezel-less design, you know, I said that I wanted to see Android manufacturers, at least some of them, get away from the notch design. Because I don't want everyone to be the same. I want someone to go out there and do something different. Lenovo teased it a couple weeks ago, only to find out that pretty much they just trolled everyone. They did like everyone else and had the notch design. But there are a couple of companies out there that was for real, and they're ready and have released phones that got rid of the notch, and it's pretty much all bezel-less, all screen display. So let's go ahead and talk about the first one, and that is Vivo with the Nex. They released that phone last week, and it's been reviewed and played around by several YouTubers, and I like to look at the design. Now I have to admit, it is a challenging design because one of the issues that people say that comes with going bezel-less or all screen is you have to do something with that front-facing camera. And for Vivo, what they did, they decided to use a sliding mechanism that slides inside the phone and it comes up when it's ready to do the selfie. I think that is a good take on it. Though some people may question the idea of that, because of the simple fact you have a mechanism that moves up and down. But at least they're trying. I like it. And I also like what they did with the fingerprint. As the fact that instead of having a fingerprint sensor on the back or as a button, it's actually embedded in the screen. So all you gotta do is touch the screen and it recognizes your fingerprint. Again, this is a big step forward and something I really wanted to see our big name companies take on this year, especially Samsung. But there may be reasons why they didn't. Still, I applaud some of these companies for going out their way to actually introduce that to us. Another company we're gonna have to talk about is Oppo and their Oppo Find X. So a couple of days ago, they actually had a presser which they showed that phone off, and you can go to their website and see it yourself. And I like what they're doing with that one. It's a little bit different than what Lenovo is doing. Instead of having a mechanism slide out from inside of a compartment, they actually have a housed area that's a part of the structure that raises up, and not only does it take your selfie, but it takes pictures, as well as it uses 3D facial recognition. Because unlike Lenovo and all these other manufacturers, and particularly Vivo, the one I've been talking about before, they're actually going to get rid of the fingerprint sensor. They're going the way of Apple, and they're going to use pretty much Face ID. Now, they're not calling it Face ID. They're actually calling it something else. They're calling it 3D face recognition. And they will use multiple cameras and sensors to be able to detect your face and use that to unlock your phone, as well as utilize their own emoji, which they are called in 3D emoji. Now, according to Oppo, Face ID or face recognition, especially the one in their technology, is 20 times safer than utilizing a fingerprint sensor. Now, at the price of $1,200, it's going to be interesting to see who actually jump on board this phone versus the iPhone and the Galaxy out there. Considering their display is a 1080p, but everything else, if you get away from that 1080p display, it's on par with the specs that the manufacturers have out today. So at $1,200 and shipping in August, this phone is looking to compete with the latest iPhone, the Note 9, and your Pixel phones. It's going to be interesting to see how many people jump on board this phone. I'm excited to see it. And I look forward to seeing the reviews, as well as seeing how reliable these mechanisms are. And that brings up the question, why aren't more companies going with the notchless design? Why is everyone else wanting to be the iPhone clone? Why does everybody want to look the same? It's a question that I have. But as you start to see some of these early designs out there of those attempting to go notchless and all screen display, you're seeing that, well, the big challenge is what to do with that front facing camera. Because you got to keep it. People want their camera. And we saw two attempts of it. We saw the way Vivo decided to do it and using a mechanism that goes up and down inside the body of the phone. And you saw what Oppo did with an entire mechanism that's a part of the phone that lifts up and down. But when you take someone like Apple and Samsung that put out over $1 billion in phones and really sell, you could say up to 1 billion units to say, they are going to want to look at the simple fact that how reliable is this going to be, especially over time. Because for them, because of the volume of phones that they sell, they are not going to want to have to deal with the warranty issues because that mechanism had a software issue, hardware issue, or just overall failed in general because of customer not paying attention. Because for them, they will actually take more of a hit and people complain that they did a poor job designing this. Because when you're the big dog, people are going to make those complaints. They are going to look into this more, dig into it, and challenge it more, asking the questions, why didn't you do this? You should have done that. And they know that, which is why they're willing to sit on the sideline and allow some of these other companies to tackle it first. Learn more and decide what technology that can really be adopted and work long term. Because when you look at most customers and what we want in our phones, well, we want dust and water resistance. And when you utilize a design similar to what Vivo is using, you do open up your phone to dust and water when you have a sliding mechanism going up and down. And if you ask most people, what is more important, water resistance or a notch? I'm thinking most people are gonna go ahead and go with wanting to keep water resistance. Because for a lot of us, once we get something added to a phone, we expect that to pretty much stay as a design that should stay with it. In other words, a feature that should come standard. Take wireless charging, for example. When Apple finally adopted it and some of your big name manufacturers decided to say, well, you know what? We don't need it this year. Example being Google with the Pixel 2 and 2 XL. There was a big uproar about it, saying, why wouldn't you have wireless charging now, considering Apple even adopted? You got car manufacturers and restaurants creating ways to allow you to charge your phone by sitting it on top of a table or armrest or a center console, and yet you get rid of this design. So if that is how they feel about wireless charging, you can imagine what water resistance, now that we finally have these in phones. So people are not going to want to give that up. And this is why I see it's going to be a while before we can get a phone that is all display and get rid of the notch, because we got to find what we can do with that camera. And I don't think people are quite sold in Oppo fine design, having the mechanism slide up and down, because I don't think that mechanism is going to be fast enough or faster than the current way of taking a selfie. Especially if a software or hardware issue happened where it causes it to malfunction. It's going to be something that people are not going to be wanting to put up with, and they're going to want better reliability with that. But I do think eventually, over time, as manufacturers continue to dig into tackling this, we will find a better way to introduce a full bezel display in a way that people are going to be satisfied with. But that don't mean we're not going to have issues along the way, challenges along the way, hiccups along the way, because that is bound to happen. So as I close out today's topics, I want to talk about the fact that we finally have Android messages to computer. Good job, Google. We applaud you here, because they finally decided to listen to fans who've been saying this has been a feature with the iPhone for years, to be able to use iMessage on your phone and it automatically goes to your computer so that you can respond to messages and chats that way. And for us to not have it on Android messaging has been like, why? Especially when you can use third-party apps on the Android Play Store that utilize it, as well as their Google Voice feature that utilizes it. So it's a matter of time for when Google decided that they were going to actually introduce it. And they did do that. And I got a chance to utilize it the past couple of days, and I really like it. I think, that for those who utilize their phone for work and dealing with clients, it allows for a added benefit to be able to utilize your computer to send a message. And what I like what they're doing with it is the simple fact that you can be more secure. And what I mean by that. So if you're in your work computer, and by the way, to add Android messages to your computer, you pretty much go to android.messages.com or something like that. Or I think it's messages.android.com. And when you pull that up, it'll pull up a barcode that you can scan. And then you go to the messaging app and hit settings. And then you can click on messages for web. And you'll be able to scan that barcode and it'll utilize that or allow you to utilize that on that computer. But the other good thing is when you leave, so you leave for work, you can go right back to your messaging app and X out of that and it removes it from that computer, allowing for added benefit of security. Take that and add dark mode, and I feel Google has done a great job to start off with this. Even though they're years behind and they should have had this out sooner, at least when they did come out with it, they came out with a messaging app that fans are glad to get behind. And as I sign off, I gotta say to the US carriers out there, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, your big carriers out there, well, good job with deciding to finally stop the scumbag move of selling our data to third-party companies. I mean, it only took for our location data to be leaked to the web and somebody to actually report on it. And then months later for Congress to jump all down your throat about why haven't you done anything about this? Why are you still doing it? To finally say, you know what, maybe it was a bad move to be selling our customers' data to somebody else. Considering that if you look at American wireless carriers, it's one of the highest in the world when it comes to what we pay for and what we get. As far as data speeds compared to the rest of the world, we're not quite there. Yet, they are so quick to charge the amount of money they charge. On top of that, you look at the so-called unlimited data that they give people, or that they charge people. You know, the limited data that once you hit a certain level, they throttle you, that unlimited data? Yes. As well as the simple fact that they couldn't wait to get rid of net neutrality so that they can buy up some of their TV companies and be able to challenge Netflix. Because the one thing that stood in the way of them, quote, slowing down or providing fast lanes was net neutrality. Now they convinced the world that we're not going to have fast lanes, but pretty much if you're allowed to have a TV service that you own, and when people utilize it, they're not charged data. But at the same time, if you use something like Netflix, you are charged data. You may not have fast lanes, but it's clear that you are trying to push your customer to utilize one service over another, which would be considered unfair advantage and will be against net neutrality rules. But as we get over that and get beyond that, the simple fact that these carriers have been taking advantage of their customers for years and years, I'm glad they finally realized it was a bad move to be taking the data the information that they got from customers, paying customers, who are paying upwards of $100 a month per line. Take their data and sell it to some third-party company and risk their safety and privacy. And they finally felt, you know what, that's a bad move, and we're finally going to do a better job protecting customers, location information, and privacy, because that is the right thing to do. So again, I applaud you for doing the right thing and realizing that customers' information should be kept private. It should not be utilized as a way to make extra money, especially without letting them know. Anyway, this is PC747. I'm out. This is PC747. Thank you again for watching. Leave your comments below. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel.